Hey guys, and welcome to QualityShot. I'm extremely excited to be joined by Musab from Sportskeeda, and we're going to be discussing 2022 so far in the tennis world. A lot's been going on, so really looking forward to getting into it. Musab, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are
I'm
you?
very good, thank you.
Hi, guys. I'm glad to be on the show.
No, pleasure's all mine.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on. I really do appreciate it. For those who haven't checked out Sportskeeda or don't know about it, please do go and check it out, of course. I'm sure everyone watching already does know. But of course, Musab and myself will be mainly focusing on the tennis side of things today. So, yeah, I mean, what a fantastic start of 2022 on not just the men's side, but the women's side as well. And there's been some very interesting stories going around. Of course, Nadal coming back from injury, winning the Australian Open, his 21st Slam. Recently, Alcaraz, first Spaniard to win Miami, and then Taylor Fritz as well, winning Indian Wells, which I thought was a bit of a surprise. And the rise of Swiatek and Barty retiring, so a lot to kind of delve into. I guess let's start off with Nadal. I guess at Australian Open. I mean, for yourself as well and covering it. I mean, how was it? Was it a massive surprise to see someone come back like that and then kind of win the way he did? And yeah, I mean, obviously now a little bit of an injury, unfortunately, but a fantastic start. A surprise or not really for yourself?
Well, for me, it was a big surprise, to be honest. Like, even though we knew there was no Djokovic and the field in general, there was no Grand Slam champion, like no Australian Open champion in the field. Yeah, sure, like Nadal was coming back from injury. He wasn't, looking at his best in Abu Dhabi. We didn't really know how he was going to perform. And the Australian Open historically has been kind of cursed for him in a way. So yeah, to be honest, I really didn't expect Nadal to even reach the final, let alone win it. And when he did reach the final, I thought Medvedev was the clear and overwhelming favorite. I didn't think it would go 5 sets. I thought it would be like Medvedev in 3 or 4, and he very nearly did it, like in the third set, he had break points, like 2-3 or something. He had 3 break points at a time, and ordinarily, like that, one of those break points, he would have won and he would have gone on to win straight sets, and it would have been like, okay, just the usual Nadal coming up just short at the Australian Open. But it wasn't that kind of day. It was, maybe some would say it was destined, or it was, the stars would align for Nadal. But yeah, what he pulled off at the end of those last 3 sets was something extraordinary. I wouldn't say he was at his best throughout the tournament. I wouldn't say this was, Nadal, the perfect showcase of Nadal player. But those last 3 sets, I'd say, yeah, that was vintage Nadal. That's just what he does. He's always fighting, always, playing till his breast gave out. And Medvedev didn't play badly. He was pretty good in the end as well. He was just, he was up against a wall. Nadal wouldn't miss him. So yeah, as in very surprising, but at the same time, it is Nadal. It is what we have come to expect from him over the years, and when you look back at it, maybe a few years from now, you might say, okay, it was Nadal. We should have expected it all along. But yeah, so it was a great moment for tennis. I'd say, like within these 2 weeks, and Nadal winning number 21 in that fashion at the Australian Open, where he has had so much misfortune in the past. It was just an amazing moment.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, it just, not just Nadal, but I guess the big three generally just kind of cease to amaze and continue to at times, don't they? Obviously, we're not sure how much more we're going to see of Federer, but even Djokovic as well last year winning the 3 out of the 4 slams. So clearly, every time we kind of sit down as tennis fans and think, oh, the next generation is going to come through. They're done. They just kind of pop their heads up again and say, no, we're still here. We're still at the top of the sport. We're not going anywhere. So yeah, I mean, it was a great win. I'm a little bit of a Nadal fan myself, and a lot of people on the channel will know that. But I didn't think he was going to get anywhere near winning the title. To be perfectly honest with you, I thought it was going to be, he'd be lucky to make the quarters. He hadn't played a lot of tennis, obviously, as well, for quite some time. So the way that he managed to kind of win was well, as you said, maybe the stars had aligned for him. Medvedev will be disappointed, given he was 2 sets to love up, and the kind of that record as well to win 2 straight slams after winning your first slam has never been done before. So that would have been a great little record for him as well. But yeah, really impressive. And then I guess the contrast between Nadal and someone like Alcaraz, both Spanish. We can touch upon Alcaraz because he's just won Miami, and at 18 years of age, Nadal was in the same boat. He made the Miami Open final in 2005, I think it was, and then lost to Federer. Alcaraz has gone one step further. Nadal, I guess similar to the Australian Open, has been cursed at Miami a little bit, made 5 finals and not won any of them. So Alcaraz is the first Spaniard to win there. And he seems to be taking the sport by storm at the moment. I mean, he's now 11th in the ATP rankings after that kind of little impressive run at the US Open last year, beating Tsitsipas, etc., and then beating him again in Miami here. I mean, he just looks like he's a man on a mission. What are your thoughts on him? And I mean, a lot of people are saying he's a fantastic player for the future, but he's a great player now, I think, from what we're seeing.
Yeah, so Alcaraz, I don't know, I think there's so much been said about him already that, anything that we say now sounds like just repetition or just jumping on the bandwagon. But he is that kind of talent. He's just that good. Like at 18 years of age, he can pretty much do everything. There's not a single thing you can say right now. And you look at his game, you say, okay, this is missing in his game, or that's missing in his game. Yeah, the serve is not great, maybe, but aside from that, the serve is not bad. Even though it's not great, it's not bad. It still manages to get him a few free points. But everything else, the movement, the forehand, the backhand, the volleys, the drop shots, like he's pretty much got it all covered. You're struggling to think of what players can do to counter that. And that's the reason why he's already been so successful. Like, and he's 18, and it doesn't seem like a surprise. When, to be honest, when he faced Tsitsipas at Miami, I actually, I thought Alcaraz would win. I didn't think Tsitsipas had enough firepower in him to hit the ball past Alcaraz, and that's exactly what happened. Like, yeah, Tsitsipas did go up a break, and he was 5-2 up, but from that moment, I think that was probably Alcaraz's best tennis. Like his peak level. Like, he just couldn't miss. He went after the ball, and he completely he took control. Like, he took over the match. It was all about him at that moment, and that's the kind of player that can really can give a spark to the entire generation. That's the kind of player that everyone else wants to be like. Everyone else wants to beat. It kind of reminds me, like I know the comparisons are to Nadal. But it kind of reminds me about Federer, like the way Federer, when he started dominating, and it was, there didn't seem to be anything that anyone could do to stop him. Obviously, Alcaraz is nowhere near that, but that seems to be where he's headed right now. That's a kind of all court, all like versatile game that he's got. So, yeah, I'm sure there would be other players coming up, who would learn how to counter that, but that's what they're going to be geared towards. That's what they're going to target now. Like that's the kind of game that we have to beat. And yeah, I think the Miami title is just the first of many. I'd be really surprised if he doesn't win at least a couple more titles this year. I'd even say that he's one of the top contenders for the French Open. Maybe not for Wimbledon, but again, in the US Open, given how he's played on hard court. In fact, if you seen the press conferences of both Alcaraz and Ferrero, when they asked them, like, is clay still the best surface for Alcaraz? And they both said, we don't know, because he's just that good in hard court as well right now. So yeah, I'd say he's one of the contenders at 2 of the 3 remaining slams this year. I wouldn't be shocked if he actually wins the French Open, but obviously there is a Nadal factor. Nadal is still, if he's fit, he's obviously still the favorite. If Nadal doesn't do, for whatever reason, doesn't win, I'd say Alcaraz is right up there with the contender.
Oh wow, I like that. No, I like that. Cool. A lot of people, I guess there'll be some people watching saying Djokovic, and obviously the reigning champion. But yeah, no, I get it completely. I think, yeah, as you said, there's not too much we can say that hasn't already been said. But as you said, he's got a complete game, and it's funny that you mentioned the Federer comparison. I think a lot of people have asked him, and said to him, "Oh, you're like Nadal, right?" And he said, "No, actually, I base my game more on Federer." And you can see that sometimes in the looks that he gives on his forehand. And the way that he plays is more similar to someone like Federer. He comes to the net a lot. When Nadal now, he comes to the net a lot, but he didn't used to when he was younger. Federer has always done that. He's got more, I guess, you could say, kind of traditionally well-rounded game. And I think that's exactly what Alcaraz has got as well. So exciting times. And as you said, I'm completely in the same boat as you. I think he is a contender at 2 of the 3 slams. I think Wimbledon he will come to also be very good on because he has that kind of game. But I guess the movement's a bit different there, so that's the bigger factor. And on the clay, I think you're right. I've heard that they said actually, to be fair, he's such a good hardcourt player. We don't know if clay court might not even be his best surface, to be fair. So we'll have to wait and see. Hasn't lost a single final yet as well. So really clutch from him so far in his career. I'm sure he will lose some in the future, but it's a great start to what I'm assuming will be a very, very long and prosperous career as long as he stays injury-free. And a little bit of a surprise, I guess, on the Indian Wells side was Taylor Fritz. I mean, winning in front of his home crowd. He has come on leaps and bounds as well, I think. Obviously, it's different trajectory to someone like an Alcaraz, but he seems to be someone who gets the most out of his game, and he has vastly improved, I think, in the last year or so. A lot of people didn't really think much of him. They thought, okay, he's a solid player, but never going to kind of reach the kind of the top 10. He's tracking towards that now. He's almost knocking on the door. He's won his first ATP Masters title as well against Nadal. Yes, Nadal had some sort of ailment, but at the end of the day, he still beat, great and played some really good tennis throughout. Are you surprised by his rise? And also, have you been impressed with him? One, winning the title, and also how he's been form-wise. I mean, he doesn't seem to have too many weaknesses, to be fair, in his game, apart from maybe the elite movement.
Yeah, Taylor Fritz has, I think, done a great job, especially since the surgery. I think he had surgery just before Wimbledon, I think, last year. And it seemed like it'd take a long time to get back, but I think within 5 weeks of that, he was, up and running. And he's actually been better, I'd say, after the surgery. Before that, he's just been a lot more consistent. The backhand has improved a lot. He's just going for his forehand as well. So, I think while it is definitely surprising that he won the title, but the way he played during that fortnight, during those 2 weeks, it was like he did play like a top 10 player. He was beating the players he should have, and he was beating hard with the players with the ones ranked above him, like Nadal, for instance. Nadal did have an injury, but Fritz wasn't fully fit either, so that was kind of balanced. I think he does the basics really well, as you said. Like he's got a good serve, good forehand, good backhand. The movement, is not the greatest, but on hard court, I think if you really do the basics well, you're always going to have a shot. And especially with that serve and the forehand, like he just take over the points. The moment he got a short ball, and he didn't miss much. So that's the really the biggest improvement, I'd say, from Fritz is that just the consistency. The ability to get a lot of hit the targets right. When he gets a short ball, or even when he has to prolong the points, so he's doing that really well. And as in, I wouldn't be surprised if he does reach the top 10 this year and continues, remains there for a bit of, for a while longer, because the field right now, I'd say, is not the greatest, after, like, say, the top 5, top 10, So there's going to be a lot of jostling, I think, for the top 10 positions. Fritz, not to say that he's not a great player, but, he does have a few limitations when you compare him to, say, the very top guys. But I think, he does really well with what he's got. And, definitely I can see that, I can foresee he appeared in the top 10.
Yeah, I agreed. Yeah, he definitely gets the most out of his game, doesn't he? For sure. And he continues to do so. So a good push from him. And I'm sure he'll continue to thrive in some capacity for sure. Interesting, I guess the three players that have had, well, in their eyes, probably not the best 2022 they would have maybe liked is Tsitsipas and Zverev, especially. Medvedev, maybe not as much. Obviously, he made number one and got to the final, but hasn't won any tournaments yet. Are you a little bit surprised by how those three have gone? I mean, when the Miami and Indian Wells draws came out, I was doing videos for it, and I just said, look, I don't think these guys are going to win it. I genuinely don't. It's going to be someone else. And it ended up being Taylor Fritz, then obviously Alcaraz. I just said, I just don't think these guys are in the right form or headspace. And there seems to be something going on there. Obviously, with Zverev, there's some off-field stuff or off-court stuff going on, of course, as well. With Tsitsipas, I guess he has been recovering from an injury, but seems to be almost kind of fully fit. I don't think there's any issues there. And then for Medvedev, of course, there's, again, some external factors kind of politically, but also I guess the added pressures of, he became number one only for a very short stint. What are your thoughts on those three? And have you been a bit disappointed by the performances so far? And do you think we'll see a pickup soon?
So, yeah, it's interesting, like the three of them, they were expected to do a lot better, you'd say, at the start of the year, especially given the way the last year ended for both Zverev and Medvedev. Um, I think Medvedev's, I don't know whether it was inevitable, but, after the year that he had in 2021, historically, it's been, a lot of players have had a bit of a letdown the next year, just to get used to, especially after getting to number one, just getting used to that, like being top guy, so and plus he had the injury as well as he just mentioned, and to add to that, Indian Wells and Miami have, I don't think he's ever reached the semifinals at either place. He's not traditionally done well at these tournaments because they're kind of slow, they don't suit his game, and the weather conditions aren't great either. So with Medvedev, I wasn't entirely surprised that he didn't. I did expect him to get back the number one ranking. I thought he'd get to at least the semis, and it was surprising that he lost both of his matches, just one match short, I think, in both places. At both places. So and now he's out for the clay. So I did kind of think that Medvedev would have a bit of a, and yeah, the very important thing that the fact that he lost the Australian Open final from 2 sets up, that's also bound to take some time to recover from. He's still young, even though he's 25, 26 now, but in compared to the big three and the others, it's a new experience for him, to be in that position and final in a Grand Slam final and lose it. And you could see it the next time he played Nadal. It was just a very different version of Nadal of Medvedev that played that match. So that might, so yeah, it is kind of, to be expected that he'd take some time to recover from all of this. Yeah, I do think that he'd be back to his best around the grass season. After, I don't know whether he'll be at the French Open, but even if he did, he wouldn't be a contender. So but yeah, grass season and the hard court season, I do expect Medvedev to be back, once he's fully recovered from everything. Tsitsipas, I think the surgery did have a part to play. He had surgery, I think, in December, if I'm not wrong. Although he did play really well at the Australian Open, especially in the match against Yannick Sinner. But yeah, since then he hasn't really hit his peak form. I thought he was getting back to his best in Miami. Like he actually played really well against Alcaraz in the first set, and then this Alcaraz just flipped a switch kind of. So that was a positive sign. I'd say Tsitsipas does seem to be getting back to where he was. And if you think about it, in 2021 he had kind of similar results as he's having right now. Before the clay season, I think he reached the Australian Open semi-final and didn't really do much at Miami. I think he reached the quarterfinals. If he lost to Hurkacz, I think. And he lost to Rublev, I think, at Rotterdam. So yeah, he didn't really do a lot last year either. So it's not entirely unusual for him to have these kind of performances in the early part of the year. But now the clay season is here, and that's clearly his best surface. I do think that he is going to get back to maybe not as good as last year, but at least contend for the titles again, maybe reach semis and finals at all the tournaments, or at least a couple of them. And yeah, I still say Tsitsipas is one of the top 5 contenders at Roland Garros, maybe top 3 or top 4, if you include, say, Nadal, Djokovic, Alcaraz, and Tsitsipas. I think these are the 4 that have the best chance of winning French Open. And as for Zverev, I think, to be honest, I don't really know why he's not doing well, because he's just doing the same, like he's playing the same way as he did last year. At the same time, though, you can see that there are some limitations in his game when his serve is not working. He kind of looks a bit clueless, so yeah, surprising again that he's lost so many matches that he should have won. But I didn't really expect him to dominate the tour either, especially the way and after what happened in Acapulco. To be honest, I thought he should have been suspended for a while, but maybe that's also weighing on his mind, like the fact that he is supposed to be at his best behavior. I don't know how much the probation kind of, like he's in probation right now. I don't know how effective that is in making people, like in enforcing discipline, but maybe that is causing a bit of an issue for him right now. So I and at the same time, I also think that like the younger players like Alcaraz, once they do become, they do reach a certain level where they're competing day in and day out with top players, I do think they have the game to irregularly beat a player like Zverev. So yeah, I'm not entirely surprised that he's not doing at the same time, he could still, he's still fighting for the number one ranking. I think for some, as in the ranking system is just so muddled right now that, it's kind of weird that he's still in the race for that. But I don't think he'd get there. I think Djokovic is going to come back and he's going to. Djokovic doesn't have a lot of points to defend, I think, before the French Open. So I think Djokovic is going to head to the French Open as a number one player, and um, maybe Zverev wouldn't be among the top five contenders. That's something that I can see happening.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, yeah, Zverev at times can look a little bit pedestrian, I think, in the way that he plays, I think, and maybe there's a little bit of, the probation in the back of his mind. He knows that he can't, obviously lose his raggers, or he will be banned. I mean, I'm on the same boat as you. I think he should have been banned as well. I think he was very lucky not to. But yeah, it is what it is. We'll see how he goes. I mean, Clay, he's not a bad clay court player, and I guess it's funny. Like, a lot of people were saying last year after he won the Olympic gold, how he made big strides. Then, of course, he made the semis of the US Open, and a lot of people said he probably should have been Djokovic in that semi, and that was disappointment. Like, he was kind of, he was playing really well at the time, or he was up and in front. And then the ATP World Tour Finals he won as well, and they thought, okay, yep, come the turn of the year, it's going to be a big year for him. And I was actually one of the people that said I thought he'd win the Australian Open, and then obviously everything that happened since, and it just hasn't really clicked for him at all. So interesting to see if he can get it back. But I think these guys are starting to come into, especially Zverev and Medvedev, and Tsitsipas a little bit younger, but all these guys in the next couple of years are going to be in their prime, and then we can't say they're the next gen anymore. They are the players now, right? The next gen really is Alcaraz and Sinner, and those guys coming through. So it'll be interesting to see if they can take the mantle. No one's ever going to replicate the big three, but I think I don't think so anyway in my lifetime, but they can definitely step up and start winning slams, and only one person's done that, and that's Medvedev, and maybe Team, I guess, coming back, but we'll see what he can do and whether he has anything to say considering such a long layoff as well. Before we move on to the women's, actually, quickly, is there anyone that surprised you at all on the men's side that you've been pleasantly surprised by in terms of running results? I mean, I know someone like Manovic has been quite good, but anyone from your side that you think has been quite surprising?
I thought Felix Auger-Aliassime did really well to start the year. I thought his performance in the Australian Open was amazing. The way he competed with Medvedev in the quarterfinals, semi-final, wasn't it? So I thought he was primed for a good run. I thought at Indian Wells and Miami, I was a bit disappointed that he lost early. But now that the tour is going to play again, I think he's really going to play as well. I do think that the partnership with Tony Nadal is working now. He's being a lot more consistent with the forehand. He's being smarter with the shot selection. I think it's a matter of time before he does become a regular part of the top 10. So while Alcaraz and Sinner are clearly the leaders of the young, and Felix is a bit younger than Zverev and Tsitsipas. I think he's 21 right now, so 1 year older than Sinner. So I think he's going to join these two and become the trio of players who are challenging the top guys. So Alcaraz is clearly the leader, followed by Sinner, and I think Felix is just behind them. I think he is going to do really well in the next couple of months, especially with clay and grass, both of which he's comfortable in.
Yeah, no, agreed. I really love watching him play. I watched him live at Wimbledon last year against Berrettini in the quarterfinals, and he is definitely someone who seems to Alcaraz in a way, in that he's maybe not quite as complete, but he seems to have a little bit of everything, really. There's not huge gaping holes in it. He's got a good serve, probably hits his spots better than someone like Alcaraz even, but the returns got better. The forehand's, a weapon. The backhand is pretty solid. It's got more solid in the last year or so. Maybe can add some more diversity to his game with the drop shots and lobs, etc. But generally, even coming to the net, he's improved on a lot. So he's one of those players again that I think is an all-court player and should be going forward. So hopefully he manages to make it click. We want to see everyone fit and in form, right? And then it's kind of survival of the fittest, which is always fun to see. So hopefully we see a little bit of that at Roland Garros and the clay court swing. But yeah, thanks very much again for being on. And yeah, I'll tag Sportskeeda on in this video anyway. I'm assuming I know you guys have a YouTube channel as well, so we'll tag that, and then also I can put your links in the description to the video as well, and tag you on social media for sure. But yeah, thanks again, Musab. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Please remember to like the video and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and do also go check out Sportskeeda. Do the same as well. Follow them on all socials for some great content there. Stay safe and well, and I'll see you on the next video.
Thanks a lot.